Oh my God. Hello, everyone. We have returned. The Then and Out podcast. The typical co-host, C Diesel, and your boy, Professor E, King of the Comics, Ethan Murphy. Brother, how you doing?
I freaked out now. That music, I think I'm gonna die. Like I'm being sentenced right now, either to heaven or hell. For those of y'all who've seen what's that anime dev where they basically play a game to determine
Death Parade.
Death Parade. I guess I'm at that bar where they go to. I'm feeling all right, man. How you feeling, brother? How you living?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Long day at work. Glad to be on the show. Glad to be talking about more Star Wars.
Yes,
you know, I can never not talk about enough Star Wars.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to get into it.
One thing too, I mean, as we can see right now from the Roly Goldie on your head, your boys are doing all right in the series. They made it through the war, beat the Warriors, so you obviously are doing pretty good.
Smack them. We lost to Denver for first game, but this is a 7-game series. We'll get into that.
We get into that. Yeah.
But yeah, everybody, obviously, we're going to be discussing Star Wars Visions, and as well as going through a little fun game. I'm going to try my best to talk about the episodes without spoiling everything. I'll give like generic plot points here and there, kind of as much as the producers and the writers gave during the panel they had during Star Wars Celebration. They kind of talked about it and some of the different goals for this season. But let's go ahead and get into it. The biggest thing about this particular season that I looked forward to going into it was seeing how, like, if there was like a general theme for it. Because we already know that from the Star Wars Vision from the first season, they tried to go more based off of the original inspiration that George Lucas got in Star Wars, being the Corsair movies. So a lot of the animations and the style and the beats were very similar to those old school type of samurai Ronin movies and things of that nature. What were your expectations going into the season, Ethan?
So I like season 1 or volume 1, right? Volume 1. There are obviously some that are better than others, but overall, I love the idea of seeing, like, Star Wars has become an entity that's gone well beyond its creator, or creation that's gone beyond its creator, so to speak. So I love seeing all the different interpretations and literal visions that people have for that world and for that mythos, and seeing how many different, because it's international. So seeing different studios bring their visions to life. And as you mentioned before, how all the inspirations that made Star Wars in the first place, all the things that George Lucas took from, as far as old school samurai films and serials when he was a kid, all those different type of things, and see how what he created, and now seeing again what all people who've seen all these different Star Wars tales, what they created. So I enjoy seeing it. I enjoy seeing all the vibrance that comes from this. You know, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. It's like you said, it's funny how the best, like, to me, the best Star Wars content, whether that be games, shows, have all come from people that weren't the original creator to me personally. Like something like the Clone Wars, were people that were just fans of George Lucas's original creation and fans of these characters, and they put love into it. To me, I think when any kind of big franchise or any kind of thing in general, I think that's the final vision as a creator personally for me, is to create something that's beautiful that inspires other people to be a part of it, so that, like you said, it grows beyond you and becomes a world that people can play in and feel connected to. Like we kind of talked about the impact of like Harry Potter in that regard, in the LGBTQ community that kind of gravitated towards that world and things of that nature, being able to live in a fantasy world and be whoever you want to be and do whatever you want to do. But to get into the season though, obviously we talked about the samurai inspirations and the Akira Kurosawa inspirations that were in the first season. Those are very much so prevalent in this season, but I think the nuance that kind of went along with this season was there was a big focus on the culture along with that stuff. So whether that's like colonialization, whether that's like kind of getting to religion a little bit and kind of just finding yourself, there's different aspects of culture weaved within all these different stories here. Is that something you noticed as well, Ethan?
I did, yes. Well, so the two biggest themes that I noticed off the tops were, as you said, kind of basically colonialism or imperialism, and also the idea of young girls rising to power, taking power. Not all the stories
Yeah.
feature young girls coming to power, but a lot of them did. Like I say, what 6 or 7 out of 9 of them did.
Yeah, a good bit of them,
Yeah,
honestly.
a good bit of them. No, a noticeable bit of them, which is fine. Do your thing. But I think it is kind of like the whole idea is rage against the machine, more or less, overall. Whether it be as a young girl, young boy, grown man, whatever it might be, but to rage on. You know, so
Yeah.
like that.
If I remember right, even the creators discussed that focus on culture with one of the episodes. I can't remember the name of it exactly, but the one that featured the one Sith that had the green skin that was based upon the Indian Ashra.
Iowa's song. Iowa's song.
Yeah, I can't remember his name exactly. But yeah, I know the creators said that character is based on the Ashra, which is like the Hindu religion or Hindu belief.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, you're talking about something else. I'm sorry. Yeah. You mean that one? We'll get to it later. It's called
I can't remember the name of the episode.
The episode is called "Bandits of the Golak."
Yeah. Just little stuff like that. I always enjoy little tidbits like that, whether that's like taking that inspiration from different cultures and showing that one, you care, and then two, attention to detail, something that we preach on this show when it comes to any medium that I really appreciate.
Yeah.
I also love that they are showing, because for a lot of the different Star Wars media, we have the traditional stuff of the Jedi that's corrupted. It's always corruption. But you rarely see like the inverse, right? Something that just lost and being corrupted that was a Sith that made their way back into being a Jedi. And to me, this is probably like my second favorite episode. Was the first episode titled Sith.
Let's go ahead and let's go ahead. Let's dance.
Yeah, we're just getting. I'll probably just discuss some of our favorite episodes. If you guys have a favorite episode that you wanted to discuss or wanted us to discuss, let us know in the comments. Let's get into it. The Sith, yes, this episode to me was very enjoyable. It featured the main character. I believe her name was Lola, if I remember right. This is the one where I finished it with subtitles on because I think I was working at the same time when I was watching this, allegedly. But yeah, it's titled Lola. Well, the character's name is Lola, and the interesting thing about this is that it featured an ability that she had that was oddly, I don't know if you got into this point in Jedi Survivor, Ethan, but there's an ability that she has that's very similar to something that happens within the game. So I don't know if all these things are coordinated, but I find it very ironic that this dropped that had this ability in like around the same time. It was I don't think it's a coincidence.
What's the ability? You can, I mean, obviously,
I don't want to say too much about the episode though.
You don't get too into the Jedi Survivor if you don't want to. But as far as, I mean, I think we at this point, this came out 2 weeks ago?
Was it? I thought it was like a week ago. I thought it came out last week.
Was it last week?
I could be wrong.
It may have been around May the 4th, right?
Yes.
So if it's May the 4th, that's like about 2 weeks ago. It's 13 days ago.
Okay, well we'll get into some light spoilers then, I guess. But essentially, a bit like the mirage, a bit like a forced mirage, essentially, where like she was able to manipulate her surroundings to. Initially, I thought it was like her hallucinating almost, or she was in some kind of weird chamber. But later in the episode, you've come to find out that she like manipulated her environment to make this illusion different from what it actually was. And her Sith master were going back and forth, kind of doing that. That was something kind of neat that you will see at some point in Jedi Survivor. And this ability that I've never seen anyone do in any game, comic, anything like that. I mean, maybe to extent in the extended books, I'm probably missing something there, or maybe some of the comics. But as far as I've seen, I haven't seen it before outside of Jedi Survivor and this episode.
Same. Yeah, I haven't either. I thought it was really the way they did it. Clearly, this is the best medium to do that, in my opinion. Animation. And it looked beautiful. It all looked beautiful. Obviously, everything she was doing with the art, the way she handled that. But then, of course, as you said, getting into essentially borderline Shadow Master type of arts, as far as you're causing delusions or hallucinations against your enemy, your opponent, and using that in your favor. I love the kind of stuff. Charles Xavier warfare, as it is. So
it felt like almost like domain expansions from Juju.
Like domain expansions, yeah. That's the best way to think of it. Is domain expansions, yeah, very much. It's like that. But it was the animation was just exquisite too. It was just I loved it. I loved how overwhelming it was. How it just top notch. And also her saber. I know you've seen it before, but I hadn't because I'm not as fluent in the extended universe as you are. It had a kind of an old scimitar, kind of a bend to the
curve
blade,
to it, yeah,
curve to it. How it looked. So that was kind of dope too. It also kind of maybe reflected a little bit of the character where she's from, her background as well. And as you mentioned, the idea of we've seen the good going over to the bad tons of times, but it's rare we see someone going. I guess essentially they must be on the good at one point, go to the bad, and then she comes back from the bad and goes to the good again, essentially. So it's cool to see someone coming back from that side. Yeah.
Right. And yeah, getting to the extended universe, there's some really dope creative sabers that you'll see there. I know there's one saber in particular that Luke Skywalker has to face the Sith, that she has like a whip saber essentially.
Oh yeah.
Where instead of like cutting like a traditional saber, it's a whip essentially. And I think Luke had to create like a Shoto blade to fight her. They had like two-handed with a Shoto blade to beat her. But there's a lot of different creative sabers in the extended in the books and the comics and things of that nature.
That's dope because obviously it reminds me of the Hashira in what's her name? The Hashira that's in Demon Slayer right now, that she has a whip sword.
That is a Otis question. I do not know all those anime character names, boy. You already know me. Like I struggle to remember like the couple names. Nigga, are you on the bed right now? Okay, my bad. My dog was like
our mascot.
I'm looking for my dog at the corner of my eye to make sure he's like getting in this shit. He's like on my bed behind me.
Of course he is.
But
he's like, on the show.
I was panicking. I'm like, where's my dog?
He left. He's putting a hallucination on you right now. But yeah, I love that kind of idea. The ideas of having the idea of seeing how Jedi and Sith, or people that use the Force, can use the Force in such different, unique ways we haven't seen before. You know, teach their own artists.
The last big thing that I thought was really cool that I don't think I've ever seen in any other Star Wars medium is in this animation. There's a moment in which the Sith Master, he is dragging his saber into the surfaces, and obviously, like with any Star Wars show or movie, it creates sparks whenever it's something solid. But he did a creative thing where he uses sparks as a blinding tool. He stripped across the one, like tried to blind her with it, and I was like, wow! Nobody ever thought to do that before. I'm like, you would think that's like a common tactic for Sith to do, but I've never seen anybody do that besides this episode.
What's funny is I've seen that kind of stuff done like in any movies where they're using swords, actual metal swords. They scrape it against the dirt, and they swing the dirt in the person's eyes. But for that's the equivalent is, like you said, a lightsaber flinging the sparks in somebody's eyes,
which is probably arguably more blinding. Because
yeah. You could burn retinas, man.
Blinding people.
Blinding folks. They fight dirty. All right.
Shit, man. That was dope. That was that episode. Do you have like you just want to go chronologically? One?
I thought we could. We have them all here. So.
We can. I was going to go through the highlights. That way we not have to. This 10 episodes. There's going to be a lot to go through.
I mean, we can touch them real quick. So real quick for Screecher's Reach. What I actually liked about Screecher's Reach, this is the first one that dealt with actually having a strapping young female protagonist as she's growing up. Essentially, I thought it was cool just to see someone that seems so powerless doing everything they could to find some power and not lose hope. That's not the part of Star Wars in general. Obviously, the first episode, the episode 4, the first film was called A New Hope. Trying to find hope when there is no hope is a very hard thing to do, and this is all about that. And essentially, the name too, Screecher's Reach, reaching for something you can't see, so to speak.
I enjoyed it was a little bit of kind of like a ghost tale for this episode to me. Something that I really enjoyed when it comes to, I don't know, this episode. Some of the episodes to me stood out and some didn't. This is one where I'd have to go back and watch it the second time. Yeah,
this was probably my least favorite out of all of them. But I the theme touched, but it was like, other than that, it was probably the least impressive overall.
Right. Sure. That's all I have like note. I'm just gonna hit each episode with like highlight things that stood out to me. Sure. There wasn't too much that stood out to me about that one.
No, I got you.
In the stars. Okay. This one was the one that I really enjoy. I really enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to kind of like the indigenous people of this world, it really got into colonization, something that we've seen in Star Wars before with something like Andor to an extent, different things of that nature. Seeing how the Empire and these big conglomerate, whether it be the Empire, whether it be the new order, is that what it was called?
The New Order.
Yeah. Seeing how they interact with like this common people on each planet and how they take over these planets is very interesting to me. Because obviously the Sith, people come for the Sith and Jedi, that's the main draw. But seeing how they interact with the world is very interesting to me. I love world building. So that's one of the big things that stood out to me, and seeing how that was developed there.
Yeah. And this is something I mentioned before in the show, how I like this show, how one of the reasons Andor was so well received and so well liked is because it showed how the actual average person had to deal with super colonialism from the Empire. This shows that too, as far as very much like this is a very peaceful planet, very simple planet with very simple people, and they get completely bushwhacked by this massive corporation that's just using all the resources, and kind of polluting their world and destroying everything they care about. And I love again, it's it has a nice young little girl trying to do what she can to fight against the rage against the machine. It was cool at the very end, essentially how you're basically hoping and maybe they're trying to set up the idea that the little girl is one that maybe has the Force, and turns out no, her older sister actually kind of did. She didn't know it, so to speak. So it was kind of yeah. All right.
We got next up on the docket, my boy.
All right, my friend. So the next one, episode 4.
Was that the one with the? Oh, this is this little funny short. Okay, this immediately brought me back to what was that show called?
Wallace and Gromit.
No, this is something that's probably a little. This is way after you. This is like some Cartoon Network stuff that came in.
Oh, okay.
I'm blanking now, but for I guess another comparison, be like Coraline. I guess in the like the claymation kind of style.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's different instead of
Yeah, as far as the animation, that's one thing I will say I always enjoy about the Star Wars Visions in this season. There's obviously some animation styles that people prefer and like you look through, but I enjoy seeing how they approach each episode as far as animation style goes. But this one was a cute, fun one to me. Again, kind of like a tale between pilots, I guess. I ain't gonna lie to you. This was probably like that part of Star Wars is the part that I find the least interesting is the pilot stuff. Because I know
the pilot stuff in general, even when there's like Luke flying,
it didn't really hit me like that. Like
okay.
I tried to play Squadrons. I think is what it was called. Star Wars Squadrons was all about like piloting.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's like a whole Star Wars animation that's based like about pilots, and it just never,
there is.
It just never hits for me. Like I'm always like, all right, when are they gonna get like out of the ships?
So for you, the main thing is because you basically care the most about the Jedi and the Sith. You aren't really interested in like the whole.
Like I'm into like again, I'm into like the Mandalorian universe. I'm into like the bounty hunter stuff when it's done well. It's just the action set pieces for Star Wars are a big thing for me, and the world building. So if you're showing me like how this world is built, like if it was maybe like a episode showing getting into the details of like a pilot's relationship with his ship, or maybe some kind of like pilot colony, maybe it would be cool for me. But I don't know, man. Like the pilots always just seem like it seems like a regular military, man. Like to me, it'd be like making a office style show about like stormtroopers. Like it's just. Hey,
although you just gave a whole bunch of folks a bunch of ideas, that right there, an office style with I guarantee you, if there's one already done on YouTube somewhere, that kind of idea as far as an office with stormtroopers, you just gave it.
I like to say it was an original idea, but it was an SNL skit they had with with like Ben
Adam Driver or something.
Yeah, which is
so
cool.
Yeah. But people, that's the thing though. People would love that kind of stuff. People live for that kind of stuff. I mean, it's the same. It's not as super akin to like Gotham, where you have the whole world, just seeing the world building without Batman, but seeing the people that make the world tick. I mean, obviously there's a lot of people that can't use the Force. Even Star Wars Rebels, the animated series, it showed when they were first trying to assemble the crew to fight against the Empire. When they were first getting Wedge Antilles and other pilots actually can, because when you watch the movies, you just see all these people flying X-wings and everything. You're like, oh, this is cool. But it's like, they had to find actual pilots that could do this type of stuff. At the end of Rogue One, it's like, those guys didn't just come from nowhere. They were trained pilots from somewhere in the universe. A lot of them were from the Empire, formerly from the Empire too.
And I think if like you gave more detail or like a better show on like the pilots and the different ships, people would like know the difference. Because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. But I can tell you like a handful of ships, but I can barely know the difference sometimes between like an X-wing or a Y. Well, I know the difference between an X-wing and a Y-wing, but the average Star Wars fan cannot tell you the difference between an X-wing and a Y-wing, or a bomber, or they know what a TIE fighter is probably because it's kind of a more popular thing. Yeah. But like there's a million different types of ships in Star Wars that they fight in, and people like hardcore fans probably know a good like 7, 8. And except a tier below that, it's like drastically cut in half.
But what's funny about that is I guarantee you there are more people that know the Star Wars ships that there are in real life, people that know the real life ships that are flying around in war and stuff like that.
Hey, I don't know, man. You better be in the RTC pro. I mean, I do because I'm in a military town and I'm kind of biased there. But
the thing is, like with Star Wars, they literally it's basic. It's like this is an X-wing because it looks like an X. This is a Y-wing. Right. This is an A-wing because it looks like an A. There's no like high-fangled name for it. It's like it's the most basic thing there is possible. You know, is your dog okay? You look about your dog.
He's like going around the room trying to chew on shit. And he's scaring me right now because I can't put eyes on him. I should just put him in the crate for the episode, but we're good.
Just put me in your lap. Just put me in your lap. You be all right. Yeah, put me in your lap.
We'll grab. We'll see if we'll act right.
Yeah, you grab.
Put the mic off the screen.
Little dog break.
But yeah, that's about all I have for that episode. It was interesting, but again, I mean, I love seeing the mom dynamic between her and her mom and the overbearing mom. I definitely something I can understand having an overbearing.
You thought her as being overbearing?
Kind of, sort of, in a way. She was just very clingy, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. She was a very embarrassing mom. She wasn't like a tiger mom or anything like that, but she was very much an embarrassing mom. And she's a mom that almost seemed a little. At first, she seemed a little like almost unaware of how embarrassing she was, but it turns out at the end, she's like, "Yeah, I know, I'm embarrassing. I'm your mom. That's kind of what I do, what I am." But she's also a very loving mom. I'm going to get into that later on in the show. I mean, I think it's gotten to the point where having loving moms in any form of media is like bizarre or weird. You've had a huge renaissance as far as having loving dads or dads doing stuff like Dad of War and Logan and everything like that. But it's like we rarely see like traditionally in the in the Disney movies, the moms get off like either off screen before the movie even starts or somewhere in the back character's backstory. I mean, they're rarely around. So actually seeing a mom actually be a good caring source is bizarrely rare. So it's kind of cool to see it.
That's very funny because when most anime is the other way around, where like there are no fathers. All these children are just fatherless. It's a lot of single moms walking around. These
single moms, but the moms aren't even involved that much. They're pretty much just nagging. There's a lot of nagging moms, that kind of stuff. Where you get to like Yusuke or Yu Yu Hakusho, where the mom is like drugged out. Yeah. But anyway,
we'll get to next. This next episode though, this is probably it's probably my favorite one.
Okay, I mean this is the most obvious one of all obvious ones. Yeah, this is the one. Man. Even if you don't want to watch the Visions, just watch this.
This is the one. Twice. If you're an anime fan, again, it's more of a traditional animation type of style. The story is kind of the same way as far as it felt very much so like I won't say a Ronin tale because I wouldn't consider Buddy a Ronin, but kind of in that same sense, like a traveling warrior. Like he has a partner he found through whatever circumstance, and they're on this journey to do something. Granted, it's a short, so it's not going to be like a multi-episode thing, but it was dope. It was dope. I always enjoy seeing how these characters, like the Jedi that are more probably gray than anything else, how they can go about fighting their anger and tendencies towards the dark side, especially when it's being drawn out by a Sith that kind of knows how to manipulate people. This episode, not gonna lie to you, had a very similar issue that I have with like Kylo Ren. Whenever you introduce a character with a badass mask or a helmet and they take it off and it's just a regular ass dude underneath, it takes a lot away of the impact for me, or like the intimidation factor.
Also, it's like why, like for example, we just saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Not a big spoiler, but in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, there's a character that's wearing a mask of sorts on his face, and when that thing comes off, you realize, oh, there's a reason he has that mask on his face.
Mm-hmm.
This dude was prettier than pretty, and he had a mask on. It's like, why would you? And the mask was cool, was badass. I love that mask he had. It was a really cool, intimidating thing. So I'm with you. I would have either had him keep it on the whole time, or if it comes off, it's clearly hiding something.
And again, they did it right with people like Vader. Like Vader was wearing a mask the whole time. People were like, "Oh, what happened to Vader? Oh my God, it has to be something crazy." And he takes it off, and he's literally a chicken nugget. The thing gets fried. It's a 10-piece combo. Like it makes sense. Let
me get a Vader combo.
Because at that point, I'm looking at the guy like, it feels like you're faking the funk a little bit. Like you're putting on a mask to intimidate people. But
yeah. I mean, that's literally what it is. You put on the mask to intimidate people, but it does take away a lot of the mystique in the intrigue, and that's why people wear masks, is to scare people. So you take it off, it's like I'm not scared anymore. What's the point of this?
Another person, something like that, which I don't know, man. But it was like when that mask, the mask was sick, like you said before. I enjoyed the mask. I just thought when it came off, I was like, okay, I don't really care about Buddy as much anymore.
But also something else too. You gotta remember, this is a fantasy world, Star Wars. It's all kinds of aliens and things. Before that mask came off, we didn't know what the hell was underneath that thing. It could have been a super crazy looking alien thing. I mean, we're playing both you and I are playing Survivor now. There are all kinds of things you fight in that game, like Ravis and whatnot. They're just bizarre mystery box creatures. So I like the idea of not knowing what it was exactly that we're dealing with.
My guy, can we chill out some, sir?
Have you taken him for a walk yet?
No, he has to go for a walk today. That's
what
part
it
of the
is.
reason.
Yeah,
He just walks later on the show. But yeah, I really enjoy. It's something I don't know what it is, but when it comes to like showing a fighting arena or an area where a combat is going on,
Yeah.
and that area is like extremely high up, it just feels so much more epic to me. Maybe
Sure.
because it's like high stakes because you're that far up and like bad fall kills you. But being on top of that, like for lack of a better term, that ring that they were fighting on with the statues, and seeing like the clouds within those and around the area made it feel so much more grandiose, so much more epic. It felt dope. It felt really dope, and especially seeing the actual statues when like the clouds kind of parted a little bit and seeing just how big they were and structure.
Right.
It made everything feel like it had stakes almost to me.
It did all that and then some, because also it showed you how, in a sense, how small they were. That people fighting these Sith and Jedi, they're still just itty bitty cogs in a much bigger scheme, much bigger world. And I loved it. Like you said, the atmosphere, the arena they were fighting in, all of it was meant to be like a grand scale, showing how how we think of these space wizards as being cosmic beings, but in the end, they're as susceptible to the world as anybody else is. And I loved actually the animation itself. I mean, the studio that did this was Studio Mir. So just for a quick
Really?
breakdown, so yeah, Studio Mir, for those who don't know, they did The Legend of Korra, which I love to pieces, The Boondocks, Young Justice, one of Dev's favorites, Batman, the upcoming Batman, the new Batman movie that's coming out, the one that's doomed for that. What's that one? The Batman, where it's like a city set in like the 1900s or whatnot.
About by Gaslight or something like that. The
one, not the Gaslight, but you have similar to that Gaslight looking one. Yeah, they did that too. So I mean, it's a massive, massive studio. They did all kinds of stuff like that.
Ladies and gentlemen,
quality.
We got him.
Finally got the nigga on the show.
That made sense.
Everybody, thank you.
Well, for the first time, that sound bite made sense. I'm impressed.
Getting used, man. It's getting used.
He's heating up.
I got more of them too. I got a package. I had the update for the new year. We're just jumping in. Your mic's kind of off.
Otis. We a little bit off there, but there we go.
Like, isn't it still the middle of this year? Isn't it not a new year at all? Actually,
I mean, I didn't update the soundboard for the new year. So
season for the season. We'll say season.
Season, year, whatever y'all want to go
season.
By.
It's just couldn't use that cheat.
Yeah, I had to update the soundboard. Right? We kept some classics on there, obviously, but I had to add in some new heat. But yeah,
how you doing, Brody? Good to see you.
Yeah, you got here. Did you have any thoughts on the episode, Otis? Since you're
so what we're talking about right now, is this bad boy?
Oh, aesthetically, that was one of my favorites. I really like the art style for that one. The main character, the one with the white hair was okay. Like,
he's very shonen. He's the most shonen protagonist. Is like the most
right.
Yeah, it's like.
Yeah, I mean, speaking strictly from aesthetics, this was my favorite. I think we already covered my actual favorite, which is the first one.
Sith.
Yeah, Sith. Yeah, that one was cold. I'm sorry I missed that discussion, but yeah, this one definitely felt the most Japanese influence. It felt like like an Astro Boy type story, but with Star Wars. I see the dog man over there, Mr. Akamaru. Or is it Miss Akamaru?
It's Mr. Akamaru.
Okay, but yeah, I don't necessarily have a whole lot to say on this one. I did enjoy looking at it. This is one of the ones I did watch a couple of times just because I enjoyed the animation that they put behind it.
Yeah.
But story-wise, it felt basic shonen compacted into 10 minutes.
It's 100% straightforward shonen. They don't even try to pretend it's not that, to the point where it's literally animated by a Japanese team by Studio Mir. So yeah, they know what they're doing, and I love how it's the same people that did Korra, because it feels very much at times like Korra and Zaire. Zaire was the dude in the third season, right?
Zaire,
right? Yeah. So with this dude, and so yeah.
Right. I think that's the one downside of like a show or anthology series like this, is that you're always going to have that one animation style, that one story that's going to stick out, and you're going to want more of that one.
Yeah. I do want more of this one. There's a couple, but I love the where we're going to get into next one also. Those are my two favorites actually. I would have loved to see this actually gone further, see more of this story, see what transpires.
I feel like we didn't necessarily get a whole lot of it, but I mean, what can you expect from that sort of a time span? But Yeah, this is one of the ones I would have definitely liked to get more of the information behind. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was 9 minutes total. All right. So getting into the next one, fam. 1 second here as I pull it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one didn't stand out to me too much. I ain't gonna hold you.
Yeah.
I love this one. I love the Spy Dancer. For one thing, I love the animation. I think this was a French studio that did this. If I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong though.
Oh, that's the
But,
problem.
we got French hate now. We got French hate.
Oh, poo poo.
And you know what? I'm with that. I'm just going back.
Before we get
I'm just gonna move.
canceled
I'll see you guys
in
next
Europe.
time. What are we doing?
It is canceled in Europe, man.
He's on fire.
Cooking out here, boy.
Or in Canada too. We got Canadians.
Right, like there's a whole bunch of French Canadians, like
Creole.
I rock with the hybrids, the pure Canadians, not pure Canadians, pure Frenchmen.
Now you're one of those. You're one of those that be pure
xenophobia, baby. Xenoverse, we out here.
Yeah, we got Mr. H.P. Lovecraft. But no, all I was gonna say was the reason I like this so much is because I love the animation style, but it was also cool just to see it was a different type of story that the idea that the Empire just completely kidnapped this woman's kidnapped this woman's kid when he was a baby, and seeing how they completely brainwashed and turned him. Something that happens as far as we know this in the real life that happens with RUFs as far as in Africa they would take kids and turn them into soldiers, into killers would actually come back years later and kill their own families. So it's kind of very much the same idea. I'm not sure that's what they meant to do with this, but that's what I thought of at first was RUFs in Africa. So I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the actual animation style. I thought it was beautiful, actually genuinely beautiful, the way they did the actual showing the cloth moving, yet it still looks simple. And I would like to see if this story was to continue as far as seeing, again, in theme with today's episode, it is about a mother and her child. That's the basis of this story. So it did it for me.
Yeah,
FTK, man. FTK.
The animation of the actual dance itself was solid. It reminded me a bit of an older show called Walk Fu.
Yes. Yeah. I know it.
But I mean, seeing that watching that, I didn't know that was a French studio that made this one. But knowing that Walk Fu is also French, that makes that connection.
I'll double check. I believe it is, though. I'll double check.
Walk Fu. I don't know. That sounds.
Honestly,
no,
it's not. It's a cartoon about.
How's it spelled though? How's it spelled? Is it W-O-K?
No, W-A-K-F.
Okay, I was about to say.
I mean, I'm not sure which is more offensive, but
What are you doing today? What did I walk into, bro?
Walk Fu does sound like when you're trying to.
It sounds like
use your information epitaph. It does sound just like that. It does sound exactly like that. But it's clean. I'll keep looking into it as far as the actual. But I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, that was pretty much it. Just saying, just noticing that similarity. I didn't think that there would be a connection there, but that's like a French animation style. That's it was noticeable.
Yeah.
I was just saying the story itself, it's one that I've seen in different mediums before. I think it translated at a solid rate. I wouldn't mind watching more of this one, but this is one of the ones that really stood out to me at a high level. I was like, yep, I was there for that.
Yep, that happened. One last thing too that was kind of interesting was to show how if you are not a Jedi wielding a lightsaber or a Sith wielding a lightsaber, dealing with those K2 droids, those big ones that are in Jedi Survivor a lot, is a nightmare. Like those things are
machines, bro.
Those machines it will terminate you basically.
Shit, dealing with a regular B2 battle droid from the Clone Wars era when
it's a problem.
Right,
that thing is breaking down houses by itself.
Yeah, so it's fun to see mortals dealing with these things. Like, these are nightmares.
I see people put Jedi in death battles that they don't belong in. I'd be like, okay, bro.
It's like, but it's broken.
Yeah, people don't know really how to properly scale Jedi, but that's also because of the medium that they were made in. They were made in primarily live action stuff, so obviously you can't have them do everything that they can do there. But
Just play the games or like watch or read anything. A comic. There are a million different animated mediums.
Read? You want these niggas to read?
Fair enough.
But it's the same thing we talked about before. How like the X-Men movies, because that was the first. A lot of people saw the X-Men movies first. Even the show, the cartoon, they neutered those characters so much. Like they're so much more powerful, way more powerful in the comics than they ever were in the cartoons or the live action, because they couldn't showcase their powers. For that.
Bro, Storm was just out here just doing regular rain clouds and
Storm
regular
is a god.
lightning bolt. I was like, bro, if you only knew.
Yeah. And Cyclops, when Cyclops just takes it off and says "fuck y'all," it's like it's mows down and literally astonishing. But anyways, getting off topic here. So moving on to, let's see here.
Oh my God, chill out, chill.
Episode 7.
The Bandits of Golok. Yeah, this one, I feel like I have mixed feelings on this one. This is another one where, damn, bro, we discussed how a big main theme for this season was culture, along with all the different aspects in the previous one, similarly, and like that sounds really bad. It's ethnic, for lack of a better term. I don't know how to properly say what I'm trying to convey here when it comes to that. As far as a little bit of culture and more world building, I love things like this. Damn, somebody at a stoplight or some shit?
No, I was trying to get somebody to come outside the house.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Y'all, what are your other thoughts on this? I'm tongue tied right now.
Let me get you out of that hole.
Help me out. Save me, please.
Yeah.
Help me.
I'll be completely honest with y'all. I'm a grown ass man. I'm not ashamed to admit what I am, what I do. I did love this one, and also this one actually made me tear up pretty bad.
Got you, huh? Okay.
So y'all both know my surrogate brother. My brother is Pakistani. So seeing anytime they would actually represent that culture, even attempt to do it properly or not just make them blatant terrorists, makes me happy. One, I'm biased, I'll admit that. But also seeing a story of a brother and a sister that genuinely love each other so much just made me happy. Seeing a big brother try to do everything he can to protect his little sister, and in the end, he can't be with her. He has to let her go. It's a great story. It's a very touching story. And the animation, it was stop motion. It looked like Kubo and the Two Strings. What's that? Is that Leica, Otis? Leica Studio?
I don't remember what studio made that actually, but I know exactly what movie you're talking about.
Yeah, you used him before too, Charlie. Kubo and they did the Norman and the monster. It was the one that they can see ghosts and everything. So they're amazing animation studio. This is not them, but it's very, very similar. And also seeing the actual fight, a Jedi lightsaber fight, that fight at the end was fantastic. I thought it was great. So it was actually a lot of fun to watch that. And I just thoroughly enjoyed even the music, the atmosphere. It was great. And it makes sense here in the world, in the vast world of Star Wars, it could be a culture like this too. Why not? So I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I said, it made me choke up pretty hard at the end there, tear up pretty bad. So
hey, it means we got 2 movies, 2 things this year. They got 2 of us. We just got to find some shit to make Otis cry. At some point this year.
Okay, so let's be blunt here. Otis, you can tell us, it's just us here. Is there any media that's made you tear up at all?
That made me tear up.
In your lifetime.
Yeah, there have been things that made me cry. Trying to think of what they are. You gotta take me a second.
Okay.
What made me cry?
I'm sure it's been a minute.
This is a joke. He's about to say some bullshit. I see it. I see him.
No, like I'm legitimately trying to figure out something that made me cry.
And it can't be like the Warriors winning. It has to be like a fictional.
No, they ain't gonna make him cry. Let's make him cry.
I'm sure that obviously seems like ring or whatever.
Let's talk about the Warriors right now in general. Like that was.
I didn't bring it up. Hey.
I'm trying to give a preemptive block. I don't want him to go that route.
I mean, cause like honestly, the what gets the most out of me probably sports related. Like
come up
seeing, like hearing about Kobe's passing, that made me cry. Sure. Chadwick Boseman passing, that I cried about that.
Let the blind side, did that fuck you up at all?
Nah. Sandra Bullock on film doesn't really do a lot for me personally.
Real story, the other documentary they had about that dude.
So Precious,
Oof.
That
Oof.
made me laugh more than cry, and it shouldn't
What is
have.
wrong with you?
That's a hard one to watch. Watch. Jeez.
That much of a dick. I was just like, bruh, like, relax. It's not that.
She
Woo,
was
Monique.
claiming her daughter so bad,
Monique.
bro. Like, bro, it's just black people, black moms, bro. When they want to kill your self confidence or anything you have,
Damn.
they be so damn creative with it.
That
Like,
movie is
the
hard to
insults
watch.
are- oh my
Yeah.
god.
I'm trying to think like a movie that made me cry. I
Or
can't remember.
anime. Let's say Yu Yu Hakusho. Your first time watching Yu Yu Hakusho, maybe.
No, I was pissed at the end of that. I was mad.
Not the whole.
I
Not the
was-
whole. I mean, I mean, any part, not just the end, but I mean, maybe somewhere along the way. But
Promise Neverland? Question mark.
No,
or the manga, not the.
I mean, Neverland never made me cry, but it did make me like. I'm for sure getting a 22194 on my neck. Like that's got to happen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
That's
That's Norman, the white hair.
That is Norman's. That is Norman's number.
Yeah.
Because he's the GOAT. Honestly, he's
Not the
definitely-
anime, but
not the anime version. We're not talking about that.
Yeah.
just
But
like fucking kids.
cry. That's tough.
Well,
Not
think about
build the
that.
like full on ball, but at least like with me, the Guardians thing got a single tear.
Oh, I love you 3000. I love you 3000 for
Oh,
sure. Got
yeah.
me to tear up.
Okay,
100%. 100%.
Yeah, that's fair.
That shit hurt. Yeah.
That's fair.
We're gonna find some this year. We're gonna get them.
That's fair. I mean, it's okay, man. You don't have to. I think you know what. Spider-Man Across the Universe, because I think I told you before. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse did give me a tear up pretty bad too. In the first one, with him and his relationship he had with his dad, got me tearing up because my dad a lot.
Mhm.
So I wonder if this one, because I bet you someone's gonna die in this one. I wonder if that may get Otis. So tune back in. If Otis Tier Watch 2023.
You'll catch this nigga cry, gonna get violent and catch a single tear.
Yeah.
Blowing and shit.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be more likely to watch me cry tears of joy, but we're not going to talk about the things that would cause that to happen on this.
We probably shouldn't. If my
Hey
sponsorships
yo,
ever in
hey
time
yo.
history.
Sorry.
All right,
Oh
well,
man,
did you?
where the hell were we? My bad.
Did y'all have anything you want to say about Bandits of the Golak?
I definitely like this episode. Again, like it's just another showcase of like what you can do with high level animation in different mediums, man. I mean, a lot of people think that animation is a very linear thing where it like has to be in one type of style or format to look good, but this series as a whole has just crushed that. Like, you don't have to look a certain way to be considered, engaging motion on screen. And I really hope that Disney kind of takes heed from this series and like starts to pull some of these smaller stories and make them into bigger ones going forward. But that's just more of a random over consensus of the show, not necessarily this one specifically.
But I agree. I would love to watch like a full 90-minute feature in this.
Man, I still want the first one from Visions 1. Like if we can get that.
Oh, the Super Samurai. It was it's like the Akira Kurosawa one. Yeah,
we can get that in the series. Bring that here, please.
I feel like the fuck is out there, isn't it? It's like a Kurosawa movie. Like I feel like he's inspired too many people for there not to be like an anime out that fits that same mold.
No, but I want that one. I want that story with those characters continue. That's bring that back.
I wonder on some level if these studios are almost like this is their pitch. This is essentially their proof of concept. Like, yo, can we do something like this? Filoni and them, can we do a whole series off of one of these things? We have the ideas, we have the artwork, we have the passion. Can we do it?
Because bro, like a whole series with that Sith animation would be crazy. Like that animation in that one.
Like the arcane animation, right?
It's somewhat like it, but it's a little bit like they do a little bit more with the effects on like with the force and the paint that she was manipulating and stuff.
Domain expansion.
Yeah, basically.
Because I mean, you all know Arcane took 6 years for them to do that first season. That was 10 episodes.
Damn, 6 years.
8.
Yeah, 6 years. It was 8.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez,
8 years. I don't know. I thought it was 6 years.
Yeah, bro. We'll see. Because Filoni and Favreau did the Clone Wars, and for the longest time, shit, maybe still till now, that was like probably the most profitable series and the best well-known series they've had outside of like the movies. And they just within like the last 2 to 3 years started putting Filoni and Favreau in more shit and gave them Mandalorian or whatever else. So this is just not.
But they weren't they involved with Rebels? They're involved with Rebels as well.
The Rebels.
So they had another show after that.
Well, they did the show, but that was like a 5-year gap between, because they didn't even get to finish the Clone Wars initially, because they just like within like the last 3 years did the final season of Clone Wars.
Yeah, I think that was 2019.
And that was like a massive gap.
No, it was.
Yeah, that show stopped when I was in like maybe before I got middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was Cartoon
Yeah, I want to say it was
Network.
like 2012, 2013 is when it came off of Cartoon Network, and then they put Rebels up on Disney XD.
Yeah.
Well, that's memories,
Yes.
man. Disney XD was the era, boy.
Yeah, that's a super era. But it pissed me off though when they had to like, that's the whole story. We gotta get into that,
But yeah, side tangent over with. My bad.
you know, you're good. You're good. So we'll move on to the next one. Move on to the next one, fam. I'm curious. If y'all's thoughts are on this one.
Representation. That's first and foremost.
Actually, did not get to see these last two.
Oh, word. Okay.
Yeah, no,
So go ahead, Charlie. Go ahead.
Yeah. I ain't gonna hold you. I watched it, fell asleep on it because the Laker game came on like right before I got to it. But what I will say from it with I like the idea of like seeing kyber crystals farmed and like mined out, because you kind of only ever really see them as like a fully mined product, or I think the closest thing we got to is with the Fallen Order game of like him traveling to Ilum and actually like getting a crystal from somewhere.
Yeah.
Which I would want to see more of that, of like seeing how crystals choose Jedi. That would be something cool to see, but I digress. Actually seeing that process was cool. I always am excited when I see a black character that aesthetically looks well when it comes like hair. She had the full fro going on. She didn't have one of the 3 cuts they give niggas in animation or games or whatever else. It seemed uniquely to her. It was kind of weird but unique at the same time. I liked it. I liked the animation style. I liked the character design. I liked the idea of getting more into the farming hybrid crystals, things of that nature. That's about all I have from this one. I'm not gonna hold you when it came to that.
Yeah.
Because with these anything outside of the Jedi and Sith, I just like seeing what the world looks like and how people interact with the world. Because we'd only ever seen Jedi interact with Ilum and farming kyber crystals before now.
Right.
Which did it take place on Ilum? I don't know if it was on Ilum.
Yeah, I don't even mention where they actually were, but it was a cool to see the actual Empire being assholes. It was cool to see like you mentioned before, a protagonist of color, black. The main character before he got killed was a dude, a black African. I'm not sure. I can't remember last time outside of the sequels with Finn that actually there was a black male character in Star Wars, doing something. There's Lando, but that's. So it was cool to see that. Of course, he got. I know it's going to happen, but what I thought was the most interesting thing. Even though this one was one of my favorites, it was interesting to see that he actually went into a very, very prominent, very rich area of this world and said, "Hey, we need help. We're starving over here. We're down in a pit, dying." And the rich elitists actually listened and gave a damn. That is very rare to see that kind of thing, and it's something you wouldn't expect to see. That's basically the twist: that the rich elite. Commune that was there and actually stopped what they were doing and forced the Empire to get them out of there, essentially.
Hyper unrealistic.
It's so unrealistic. That's the fantasy. That's the real fantasy right there. But it was interesting to see that actually that change was sparked by a young black man in this anime. So I was like, okay, fair enough. But it wasn't
telekinetic laser samurai is more believable than that, honestly.
I ain't hold it against you. I definitely am not, but it's like, yeah. Okay.
Dave Chappelle line from this show. He was like, "People in Detroit, you'll never get your fucking money." It's never happened.
It was like, what is going on here? But yeah, anyways, that's Pit. That's Pit. Yeah. Anything else to say?
No, I'm not gonna go to the Iris song. I watched maybe 3 minutes of this one because at this point the Laker game was in full effect and I had passed out 5 times on this episode.
You know this. We've had more. This came out like 2 weeks ago. You could have watched it another time. You had to watch it once.
Work's been crazy, man. Work's been crazy. This adulting shit is hard. I'm not gonna hold you.
I warned you. I
I
warned you.
was supposed to finish it up before the show started today, but I had to go to a community center that we're trying to connect with the Galactic Tribe, so that kind of took
That's
me
all right.
from that. Yeah.
So
Give
since
us-
I'm the only one
give
that
us your
did the homework, well, what I would say is, the first thing was it was cool to watch again the animation style. It looked like they were like dolls, like little dolls, cloth or stitched dolls. They actually somebody made move and gave the eyeballs the blink and everything. It was really cool to
Coraline?
watch that.
Almost like Coraline.
Kind of like a different way.
I
Yeah,
said that earlier today.
Yeah,
It's
another
in my
version
head.
of a Coraline. But yeah, I dug that. Again, it's fun to see different interpretations of this, different people's imaginings of Star Wars. And the song that she sings is called I mispronounced her name, Aya or Oya's song. The song she sings is very much reminiscent of the song in Wakanda Forever. You know, the song that the like Atlanteans, whatever they're called, they sing when they're
Siren
chanting people
song.
to yeah,
Mm.
like the siren song to their death. It sounds like that when she sings it, but when she sings it, it actually causes any kyber crystals that are near her to basically turn to their true form or whatnot. So at the first, when she first starts doing it, they do go red. They turn red, almost like they're going to a Sith crystal, and then they go past the Sith crystals and into like a crystallized, like a pure form or blue form, whatever it is afterwards. So it's fun to watch that. I like seeing her dad and her relationship they have with each other. It's clear too. These are meant to be like there's a black dad and this little black girl. But I dug it. That was fun. I guess I was in the mood for Star Wars content because I got something out of all these stories, even the ones I didn't necessarily love the most. I got something out of them.
Yeah. Now, how does that compare to the actual lore behind kyber crystals?
That shit makes no sense.
I've never heard of it. Well, the thing is, she is a. They do explain because there's a Jedi there, and so basically she's using the Force.
Was she angry at all throughout this whole process?
No, she's. It's actually just her way of using it. The same thing as a person in the Sith using the Force to literally cause illusions. When she sings, it uses the Force to basically, manipulate kyber crystals. So I mean,
this is why it makes no sense. The way that red kyber crystals don't exist. They are either synthetic made crystals that are fake kyber crystals, or they're a kyber crystal that is literally a Sith has to meditate and pour all of their hate into this crystal to turn the bleed it and turn it red.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact she was like singing a song and it just like happy and it turned red, I'm like, this girl's a demon. This guy is pure evil.
If you saw it, if you watch it, they go from like nothing to they flash red for a little while and then they go past it. I'm not sure why it is. They do go red briefly.
So for example, like with Kylo Ren, this is probably the better version of him in the comics. Like the reason he has the crossguard saber is because he poured so much hate into his crystal that it cracked because it couldn't handle all that hate. So you had to have like the cooling vents dispersed off because the crystal was cracked.
Why is he so mad though? Like,
I don't know, bro.
What hate does he have to have? Like coming into the world after the Empire? Like
they should have made a much better story for that dude, man. It really doesn't. They could have easily. I mean, well, that's a whole other story. But if they had some of him and Luke, or him and even his dad had real beef, like actual real beef, like if Han had been a real bad absentee dad and had left him, and he was still mad at him about that, and Luke actually pretty much didn't train him at all properly, actually tried to kill him for real. They could have made that a real compelling story, but we got what we got.
Because the Knights of Ren storyline was fire. I wanted more of that. Like, bro, he's running around with some Akatsuki shit and black.
We got none of that. None of that in the movies.
They just killed them off like they were shit. That's movie.
We barely even saw them. I mean, it was like, what is going on here?
Because in the comics, they're demons in the comics.
I still can't bring myself to watch that last movie. I just
oh, you haven't seen it at all?
No.
Oh,
hey, if anything else is watch to see how broken Palpatine is. At least watch that like a Palpatine, like that's a fraction of how broken he is.
I can watch it on YouTube.
I want you to watch
find a clip on YouTube.
Just watch the opening 5 seconds of this where the movie just says the dead speak. Palpatine's back. It's like y'all not even try to explain how this massive ass plot hole is sitting right in my face. It's like, all right, fine.
And they're still trying to fix that with all the other shows and movies until that.
Dumbest shit I've ever seen. You can hear people in the theater smacking their foreheads. Like what? Most people smacking their foreheads in the theater.
My last slight tangent on it. The funniest shit, you can tell whoever wrote the scripts, like read
Wrote.
like a synopsis of the actual Star Wars books. They literally took every concept from those books. Like Ray, like in the books, Ray and Ben, like Ben and Ray are
The twins, yeah.
the twin. They do the same shit. They go on adventures together. They're Luke's nephews and nieces. And then literally Palpatine is back and he's switching bodies on some murder type shit. Like all that shit happens and they did it, but bad. So I'm like, how do you take something people like and make it bad? You could have just copied it verbatim and it would have been fire.
I mean,
Well, they should have been the 3 stories. That should have been expanded over 3 stories, 3 movies.
Because then they would have had like cool characters like Mara Jade, like Luke's wife pops up in that. The whole the whip saber, that's a whole fight that Luke had to go through. That would have been cool shit to see.
I don't know why they didn't do any of that. Like they could have made some of that in the sequel movies.
Obviously, they wanted to some extent because they just copied that shit. But
well, they wanted to in the third one, the ninth episode 9.
No, from the very beginning, like that whole trilogy is just that book series. Bad.
I'm out.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time someone took something that was, made well and destroyed it. The Avatar: The Last Airbender exists. Dragon Ball Z live action. Well, yeah, Dragon Ball Evolution exists. You know what I'm saying? Promise Neverland second season exists. Death Note exists. Mortal Kombat exists.
Mortal Kombat, yeah.
We're talking about the live action movie.
Live action.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, we can't forget Cowboy. We missed Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, we actually could have missed that. That would have been okay.
Yeah, I tried. I mean, Charlie did miss.
That was the only thing that's ever been so bad that I could not finish it. And y'all know how I'm about finishing.
And we specifically watched it just for the show, and you tapped out. I was like, wait a minute, Charlie, you can't. You use your one veto. You get no more vetoes. Otis, I just put one after. You use your one veto. I just binged
the whole anime before that. I'm like, I'm not about to watch this good shit and then right after proceed to watch. No.
Yeah, nice.
Let's not call it good.
All right, we're not doing.
But we have to mention this too, real quick. Y'all know that the One Piece live action is the same people that did the.
It's canceled already.
It's canceled already.
Yeah.
I thought they were so deep when they spent millions and millions of dollars on it.
Yeah, the screening came out so bad that they was like, yeah, we're gonna do something else.
Yo, that is wild.
Millions
and millions of dollars. That was a lot of money on that, and it's a massive cast of 9 people. Well, it may have been 9 at that point. It's like pretty early.
Didn't they cancel the last Airbender reboot too? The live action one?
No. So it left Netflix, but they're still doing it with they're doing like the movies, doing like 3 animated films over at Nickelodeon. I've seen the studio at
I know the animated one's coming out, but I'm not the live action version.
I don't know about the live action anymore.
I haven't heard anything new with the live action, and even if they were in development for a writer strike,
and it's not stopping anytime soon either. So,
that's a Universal strike. I didn't even know the details. I thought that was a universe, like all the writers in Hollywood are striking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one. I'm sorry, it's one guild, fam. So yeah, it's if anybody strikes, they all strike. That's how it works.
I didn't know it was like a one unified thing. I thought it was like all of like Marvel's writers or something. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, that's one.
Good for them. Get your back, sis, and bros, and everybody in between. Yeah.
There's multiple choice. Yeah. Other at the bottom is always the other.
But do y'all want to go ahead and run through our game for the evening before we get up out of here?
Yeah, before we get into that, I'm sorry, Otis. I know you hate me a lot in the face, but it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
What are we doing?
One to die, baby. Yeah, he left. He actually left. He's gone. He's not coming back. Yeah,
so I actually played that X-Men game at an arcade with Anthony the other day.
They had that lots of barcades and stuff like that. Yeah. It's not a good game. It's not wow, this is bad. It's trash.
It's casual. It's terrible.
It's not a good game. When Dazzler has one of the best moves, has one of the best moves. Like, what is going on?
Respect on Dazzler, all right?
Just the fact that you can only use your special ability like 3 times in an entire life is like, what are we doing?
Yeah. It's a weird thing. And Colossus, as badass as Colossus Scream is, I've never in the comics known him to like scream and orgasm and have
have like a whole energy burst coming from his body. Like, when did this ever happen?
I haven't had that orgasm then.
I mean,
if you having an orgasm that can disintegrate people around you, you should probably go get that checked.
Yeah, congratulations and I'm sorry. At the
Who
same
said it's a
time.
bad thing? Who said it's a
I
bad
mean,
thing?
it's-
The person that you were near at the time, probably.
The felony that you committed.
Right, that's-
Nobody, no case.
But what we're doing for those who care, which is I don't know if anybody now, it's old school. It's been a minute. It's been a minute and a half. Is this the first Blur then of 2023?
I believe so.
I think so. Yeah.
It is May. We're at the end
Your
of May.
mama's crazy. Yes, that's nasty.
So
word.
Blur, that's the Blur Down for Your Mama in honor of Mother's Day, which has happened a few days ago. We're actually going to celebrate our favorite moms, more or less, in pop culture, whether it be anime, TV, film, all kinds of stuff, comic books, maybe. You know, you got it. You name it, we got it. So, unfortunately, real quick, weren't able to get Otis was busy. We weren't able to get his official picks. So when it comes to Otis, we'll just let him just say them off the top. If do you have a list prepared, Otis?
I've got several names to drop. So whatever you guys don't have already listed, I'll add some there.
Okay, cool. All right then. So, are you able to? So usually when we do this, Otis plays the words. Are you able to?
Yeah.
Okay, you still got it. Okay. Scroll
Where
down.
is this? See, blurred down. So you guys see number 4s are in there.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, right. Yeah, it's okay. So here we go. And
You start with me. Okay, yeah. Keep it simple, man. I've talked about this show a couple times on here. Abuela she's the classic grandma that everybody has in the family that preaches. They have a conservative value because they grew up on, but when they was younger, they was really about it and wilding out like everybody else. And she's not afraid to show that little bit of personality. That'll be like the common trend in my list is like those grandmas or moms that really they were kind of wild back in the day, and they're not afraid to kind of show that personality as they get older, but also trying to portray that matriarchal like identity within a family.
okay, fair enough.
Can't remember her exact name. I know that she hasn't like a literal name in the show, but I cannot remember what it was for love of me.
Yeah, but you think of Bella, that's her.
Yeah.
All right, my number 4 is Miss Harriet Winslow from Family Matters. Most people know, of course, Urkel from Family Matters. I loved Harriet. Harriet actually got her first start on the show Perfect Strangers with Balky, and she was the elevator operator. And she was bizarrely enough so popular on that show they gave her own spin-off show. I think it was largely because she had her voice is very distinct, like Carl, what are you doing, Carl?
Mm-hmm.
But I loved Harriet, and so it was fun to see on her own show. My family and I watched it because it was a black family on Friday night shows, and we always watched it. It was a lot of fun to do. Sorry, Otis, I didn't get a chance to do it. So what I'll do is I'll just do it this way. Let's see, Otis. Go behind the scenes for y'all, Otis number.
Yeah, for my 4th one, I'll go with one that technically isn't a mom, but she was a mother figure for the show, and that's Easy Curtis from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
I was gonna put her. Yeah, so easy. How is that spelled though?
Izumi and then Curtis, Curtis.
They to revive her baby, right?
Yeah, she's the one that would try to revive her baby. And is the teacher to Edward and Alphonse Elric.
Yeah.
She's also probably like one of the most badass women to ever touch like anime. Period. Like she's a monster. Great teacher, great hand-to-hand fighter, and she's very strong in her motivations. So just seeing a character that's unflinching like that can meld characters like Alphonse and Edward. I always got much appreciation for her.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention her before because I thought she was really cool because she's in a lot of ways she's the one they credit as their actual true mentor teacher and mother figure since their dad is a horrible monster. I never read the mangas. Does it really deal with their real biological mom that much? Does it talk about her that much?
So I mean, yeah, you get like a little bit of the backstory of their mom early on. Like, I think right around when Alphonse was 5 years old and Ed was 7, she passed away from an illness. But she was with them every day until then. She started losing her. No, that was somebody else that was losing her eyesight. That was another mom that died in Full Metal. But yeah, she came down with an illness while they were young, and that they went off to find Izumi to try to get trained so they could start the human transmutation to bring their mother back.
Okay.
So that's how they got along the course of having to restore their bodies.
Very cool. Very
That's nuts. People just accept it, man. If the whole, never mind. We're not gonna get in that whole spiel.
I
cool.
mean,
You better say something.
we gotta get the number 3s loaded in. So go ahead, spill away.
Yeah. Matter of fact, yeah.
It's like on that kind of tip with Izumi specifically. I'm like, bro, you go adopt. I understand that loss of like losing your child. I know that's a significant loss, and that probably hit you really hard. But bro, you can just pour that love into a child that's like doesn't have a family right now. Me working with nonprofits and like seeing a lot of fatherless and motherless children, I'm like, they can really appreciate somebody love on them. But I don't know how prevalent adoption is in Japanese culture like that, or like what the orphanages are like over there.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
that's a good point. That's another whole cultural thing.
So I know, like in America, where the foster system and it's terrible.
It's a nightmare.
It's terrible.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we'll look into that too. While we're looking into whether or not that's a French studio that made the episode, we'll look into whether or not that what we're talking about is out of pocket with the Japanese adoption.
Okay. That's gotta be racist. That's gotta be.
We gotta move on now. We gotta move on real quick before we got
Number 3.
Number
3 Charlie.
So moving on to Dev's number 3.
Sugar mama, y'all know what it is. This is everybody got a sugar. I feel like almost 70% of black people got a sugar mama. That's either a grandma on one of their sides or somebody got a sugar mama in their family. That grandma, again, I said before, like wilding out and not afraid to act like a big kid. And
100%.
You gonna show that respect.
100%. If it's not necessarily your grandma or your mom, so we got one auntie like that. If it's not a biological auntie, it's a quote unquote auntie in the family. I know for a fact, literally, it's scientifically proven. Every black family has at least one or two of them.
What was it Teddy Roosevelt that said the saying of speak quiet or no, speak softly but carry a big stick?
Yeah. I guess that relates to the sugar mama somehow, but okay.
She's smacking people with her kid all the time.
But she don't speak softly though. She never speaks softly. I mean,
she don't really be talking that much. Like she'll talk and like her shit every now and then, but whenever she's popping somebody, she gotta just be chilling. Oscar just be doing the most, and she'd be like,
"Yeah, with Oscar, with her son, she's not quiet with Oscar at all."
She'd be like, "Shut up, Oscar. Let that girl do what she want to do."
I love Oscar, man. I love him. He reminded me of when I was a kid. He reminded me of Tommy Davidson. Do y'all remember Tommy Davidson from In Living Color? Probably not.
We're way before me, G.
Yes, sorry.
Way before me.
On that note, my number 3. It's Miss Kala from Tarzan. I'm not sure if y'all ever seen this one.
Yeah, of course. This is one of the best soundtracks that Disney ever put out. Come on,
I wholeheartedly agree, and I love. I mean, this is it. In my opinion, it's pretty almost unanimously seriously agreed. That's kind of the best Tarzan movie. They can stop now. Stop trying, please. Stop trying. Let that be the last one. I love the idea too of him being actually very much an outsider, and she loves him very like any mother. They love their child regardless of what they're dealing with. As y'all know, as I've talked about 1,001 times on the show, having all my disabilities and abnormalities, my mom never once looked at me sideways for that. And having a mom that cares about you, that means the world. So I related to this story.
I ain't gonna hold you. I think Tarzan. I think the Jungle Book is what Tarzan wants to be. I'm just keeping it a buck. Music wise, that's all I'm saying.
Which came first though? Was it?
I know the Jungle Book's like a tale that was like a really old
series of
stories.
There's a series of stories, but yeah. Tarzan, I'm not sure. I'll look at that right quick because I'm not sure which one came first necessarily in the books. Let's see.
I ain't gonna hold it. I think the Bare Necessities is shitting on most of the Tarzan songs. I'm just keeping it a buck. That's just where I'm at. That's how I'm feeling.
I mean, that's not true. But let's see.
Tarzan don't want to smoke.
Jungle Book. I'm trying to figure out Jungle Book books when that first dropped. Oh my gosh, let me see here.
I know the story is like a really old. It may be a part of the not the Gripkey brother. It's like is it a 1,001 Arabian Nights? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's not part of that though.
It's like a book within Indian culture. There's like a lot of their stories in it, and I think that's one of them.
So 1894, it came out in 1894. Rudyard Kipling. All right, and let's see when Tarzan dropped. I mean, there's a lot of difference between Tarzan and Jungle Book, though. For one thing, they're set in 2 different regions, but the other thing is one, of course, is a grown ass man. So technically, Tarzan came out in 1875. It came out before.
Yeah, just a white.
No,
knight.
I'm sorry. No, published in 1912. It was published in 1912. So it came out after. It did come out after the Jungle Book.
Yeah, I think it's based off an actual individual, right?
Was
person?
inspired by somebody, possibly? It possibly was.
I don't know, man. White man with dreads. I'm like, hey, let's find this white baby somewhere in the tree. We're just gonna raise him like our own. I'm like, all right, man. I guess.
I mean, it also came out with the end of the 90s, basically early 2000s, right? So they're pretty much that grunge, grind era kind of thing was very much a popular thing when it was made. So
I low-key be forgetting he had dreads sometimes. I'm not gonna hold you. It's like you really look at him, you're like, oh.
But it made sense for the environment he was in.
It made sense.
He was a skater. He basically was a skater, and it was also cool to see him actually how, as opposed to Tarzan always being all standing tall and erect, he actually was always hunched. He actually walked like an ape. He was always hunched down, and he had his hands and his knuckles remained the same way.
Didn't they show him like bathing in the movie at some point? I thought in like a waterfall or something.
Bathing in what?
Like washing himself.
No.
No. Okay, never mind. I'm just like, yeah. All right, never mind.
I'm glad you brought that up, though. I'm glad that means the most to you is watching dudes bathe.
Because I'm like, bro, your hair is matting up that much, and you bathing on a consistent basis.
I mean, there are dudes that have dreads that bathe. It happens.
Yeah, his dress looked a little too clean. Look, he had a fresh retwist. I'm like, oh, them gorillas is not giving you a fresh retwist.
that one Rosie O'Donnell was braiding him up or something.
Yeah,
No, he didn't.
I see a gorilla braiding somebody. I braided the hair.
I know. I gotta say it. I gotta say something. I was out of pocket. I'm not gonna say it now.
Hey, man, bare necessities, man.
The bare necessities. All right. So Otis got his. So for those who don't know, obviously, Dev and I were stalling long enough to give Otis time to put his stuff in. They got to figure out how to put ours in it later on here too. We'll get that straight. Anyways,
we'll start doing We'll start doing a thing on the show. I'm gonna start doing. It's gonna be hot takes of the day.
Just do official hot take. Hot take today for.
Yeah, I know Otis gonna love that shit. But that's the game you go.
Just take a GoPro and follow Otis around for 5 minutes. That's your hot take for the day.
That's not a game. That's just me speaking normally.
Easy content, easy money.
It's too easy content. Charlie, real quick. I know you had a number 2. Yours was number. Let me guess. It was a number. It was I know that number 1 is. Oh, I know this. Okay.
Yeah, I want to.
No, don't say it. I know this. Here. Give me 1 second. I'll put it in. And the scene stuff.
In the meantime, we can go over to my number 3, which is Bulma from Dragon Ball Z.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, she had a son that is also, as well as being a Z fighter, also a high level engineer and swordsman. I mean, to have a father like Vegeta and come out as not like a militant person that's coming out to destroy everything comes completely from the Bulma side of that. Because could you imagine what like a Vegeta completely 100% offspring would be like? Like that's a terrorist.
That's not like Vegeta didn't get like hella soft though. Like Vegeta kind of soft.
Where do you think that came from?
A child abuse. That's where it came from. Getting beat the fuck up every day as a child.
No, the softness didn't come from that.
No, the softness came from him not having to fight for his life anymore.
Yeah, being peacetime.
Once he made some friends, they were like, "Oh, I don't have to try to kill this guy that murdered my entire my entire species."
Yeah,
we're good. I can let it go.
Even after that, he still wanted to murder Goku repeatedly.
He wanted to fight him. I don't know if he wanted to murder him.
That's a good question. At the beginning of the iceberg of DBZ, did Vegeta ever want to kill Goku after their first fight, or was it he wanted to fight him?
I mean, it was his pride. Like he wanted to. I don't know. Vegeta got hella again. Once he got like, oh my god, she's giving me clothes. She's nice to me. Oh my god, I don't gotta be hard all the time. I have friends now. People don't hate me anymore.
I know, but it's still. I mean, there was during the Buu. I mean, everyone hates the Buu saga. I still like it, but it feels at one time he is so consumed with the race. He's killing mass people to get Goku to fight him. I'm wondering if he would have killed Goku too. It's a.
I mean, right then, yeah, because he was like pride and mind control at the same time, similarly.
Yes, so it's but I think I'm with you though, Deb. I think he just wanted to regain his honor by beating Goku. He didn't have to kill him; he just wanted to beat him. The same thing as Frieza in Dragon Ball Super now, when he goes Frieza Black, doesn't even need to kill them. He just wants to beat them.
Because how do you go from like wanting immortality on Namek and wanting like to conquer the galaxy to now Goku's seemingly dead and you're back on Earth with people that fucked you over and cut your tail off and you don't just like wreak havoc with nobody that can stop
Don't
him.
touch any of them. Yeah, there's no one that can stop him.
He was happy. He's like, oh, I have friends now. I'm good. I'm chilling. I'm wearing pink shirts now.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Let's move on, please.
The Batman shirt was pretty drippy though. Right?
It was drippy, but you can't be no evil conqueror wearing a pink button up.
people wear that shirt now. I see all kinds of dudes wear that shirt.
He literally still has a power to blow up planets at any time. That doesn't stop him. The pink shirt doesn't.
And he was changing diapers. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's a dad, man. He's a dad. We try to get the dads for Father's Day. We'll do that.
He was grilling out there. He was cooking breakfast on the grill. He was not worried about conquering no galaxies.
No, you don't got to. All right, fam. Let's do it up.
Oh, Viv, man. I know. I'm not going to. I know people are going to be like, "Oh, which one specifically?" I'm not going to split them up. One, I'm fighting colorism. We're fighting this right now. All right. The character was astronomically great when she was dark skinned. Funny enough, did you know she choreographed that herself?
Yes, she was a dancer.
That was nuts. Anyway, going forward, yes, Viv is. I count them as a whole character. Writing for them obviously got slim as the show went on. I think the show got worse in general as it went on anyway, but that's me in general as far as I feel about the show. But yeah, Viv as a whole. The guidance that she was able to offer, the comfort, that was like, to me, almost damn. I don't think there's any perfect version, but you get pretty damn close with Viv, where she was that perfect blend of nurturing, assertiveness, and making sure that she had that level of discipline there, but wasn't also like unfair and cruel in how she went about that. I think it's kind of like she was a fully flushed out person and mother figure.
I agree. What I've always thought about it is the honorable mention I of course would have. We had to mention, of course, is Claire Huxtable. I always saw Aunt Viv as like the more evolved, cooler version of Claire Huxtable from the Cosby Show. So it's like no disrespect to Felicia Rashad, but I thought Aunt Viv was a step above, the next level with that character.
Say how you really feel.
But also I do prefer the OG and Viv, the one that when we just saw. That's why I chose that clip because she was definitely more of a badass. They portrayed her more because the actor was more of a badass. She was with everything she did as far as because the character's supposed to be a lawyer too. You never see the other version doing anything, litigating or doing that kind of stuff. So this one, when I think about Viv, pretty much everyone thinks of the OG and Viv. Think about Viv. So.
I ain't gonna lie, it was wild that they like replaced her with an actor that looked nothing like her originally.
Yeah, it was a corpse. It was like
they didn't say a word about it. Just like new season, new Viv.
Yeah. We'll walk some one day. It's like, hey, is that you, Aunt Viv? It's something like that, like a little joke, and it's like, that's it. That's all. That's how they.
Not even trying to give her the same hairstyle or nothing. Just like completely different woman.
Completely. Like, they could have gone further. Yeah.
Seen it, Viv.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much I know that she had it was from what they said in the HBO special. It seemed like her in real life, Laura Will Smith had a couple of clashes and whatnot. But
it was that like contractual stuff, right?
No, it was her and Will got into it very bad. He wanted her off the show, and he got her off the show.
Man, he was at that point. It was Will Smith at that point.
It was his world basically.
Yeah. They addressed that in the reunion and other places since. Yeah.
Shout out Will, man. Shout out Will.
All right. So moving on to my number 2. Now I specifically put this on the list before Otis could, because I'm sure he's going to do it. That's why I made mine up there. Yor. We all get props to Yor. Again, this is getting with Japanese and adoption, but it's a very unique scenario, and there is no denying. Some people think, "Oh, Yor is just a spy." No. She 110% cares about Anya. She will go ham. She will go full tiger mama for her baby. She loves that little kid to pieces. She's also a really great wife too. I mean, there's a whole episode about her trying to learn how to cook, so she doesn't make her family throw up every time they touch her food. And also, even before Anya, she raised her younger brother like a son too. So she's a crazy badass spy and or assassin. Sorry, she's an assassin, but she also is a legitimate mama too.
I mean, there's something you said there about you committing murders in front of your child.
She never murdered anyone.
I'm convinced the buddy she like ping ponged on a brick wall. You're not gonna tell me the buddy didn't die of like a brain injury or internal.
That was to protect her. That's different. Like
that was one kick.
What happened to him after is his fault.
Yeah,
Go
yeah. If
slit throats
Gravity,
at night.
let Gravity do its job afterwards.
That is nuts. You're not gonna
All
tell me
she
that,
was-
buddy. He was not dead of some kind of brain bleed out or something. Especially in concrete.
Ping pong. But y'all gonna say about a girl, Yor?
No, yours always been pretty dope. I mean, since coming onto the scene, she's definitely been a fan favorite across multiple different mediums. Cosplayers love her. I've seen so
Yeah.
many. I've seen so many yours at
Right.
conventions. It doesn't make any sense at this point.
Yeah, we saw her at LA.
LA Comic Con.
Yeah, we saw her,
But no, yours dope, super badass. Not someone I'd ever want to get into a fight with, like ever.
No, she was. If y'all remember the episode where she was drunk when they went to like to celebrate Anya getting into school, right? And old boy Lloyd was playing like a crook basically, but she didn't know that was him, and he couldn't handle it. He's like, I'm gonna lose this fight. What is happening? Look, the only dude, he's beating everybody else, no problem. And this woman, while drunk, was about to handle him.
Drunk woman, you don't want the smoke from.
Yeah,
That's one thing I enjoy about her that I can empathize with is like the idea of wanting to be better as a person in all facets for the people you love.
Yeah.
Like you talked about in that cooking episode. Shawty's a full murderer and as strong as it comes, and she could probably just order some food. And she's just like, no, I want to learn how to cook better for my family. So
yeah.
I definitely can applaud her for that as a character.
Legit. It's legit, mama. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, what you got for us, buddy?
I got Inko Midoriya from My Hero Academia.
Okay.
Well, one, I mean, the level of protectiveness she had over Midoriya early in the story, I always appreciated because I related that to my mom because my mom was extremely overprotective. But even to like, well, one, her being like the only like shonen mom ever that like isn't dead is also like, you know, a bonus. And the fact that like even after Deku essentially becomes virtually the most powerful person in this show, like she still like has the care for him like he's still like her small son, and seeing that has always been something I appreciate. Like, no, most people aren't, you know, it's the old saying, nobody praying for the mighty, you know what I'm saying? But she's still there trying to protect her son just like any other day. So I really appreciate it, Baba.
So
And correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't she like the one parent that was like when they were trying to go with all the teachers were like trying to get all the kids to come back after all the craziness was happening at UA? She was the one parent's like, no, I don't want him back there. Y'all have had all kinds of terrorist attacks and shit. I want my son safe. And old boy had to All Might had to like go there and bow down before her, like, I'm so sorry. And she's right. It's like, yeah, it's a horrible place. It's worse than Hogwarts.
Right. And the worst part is it only's gotten worse since after that meeting. Like
It did, legitimately. Yeah.
So remind me correctly, did his dad just do the whole milkman thing, or does he just not know who his dad is?
Because the manga has that, talks about that later on, right?
The manga does mention that. It's a big spoiler to the anime, so I'm not gonna drop it on here.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I was about to be like, she didn't tell him who his daddy was. How she could? Oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah. I've heard.
hey,
theories.
she was mommy and daddy. So hey,
She had to raise him. Yeah, and it worked. I mean, he's an old. I mean,
Great
he's
kid.
he's a great kid though, man. You'd be proud to have him as a son.
but
No doubt.
she definitely also laid the foundation for Dark Deku, and Dark Deku is
broken. It's broken as fuck.
That's a different guy there.
Yeah, he's still broken as hell. I love him. Yeah, right on. Good choice. Very good choice, actually. Very good choice.
Numero
All right.
uno.
So now we get into the top dogs. So here we go, fam.
Yeah, Chi-Chi, look. I know people gonna
You're gonna
talk
have
about
to
it.
justify this, bro.
The overbearing mom thing, people are gonna talk about that. But at the end, she is the Savannah James of Dragon Ball Z. At the end of the day, she ain't trying to do nothing but take care of them kids and make sure they have the best.
She holds them back, bro.
Yeah. If I watch on live television, my son fighting a huge bug man that just blew up a planet and it's like fighting my husband to the death. Like, once I see Goku throw a Sensu bean to Cell, after that, I'm like,
That's the
you are
dumbest
never
shit ever.
fighting again. You will never fight.
But about when the next guy comes and nobody else can stop it, then
You got Vegeta, Goku, like you just said, you got a million planet buster. Y'all niggas better handle that. Y'all better handle that.
But they lost.
Oh well, figure it out. Figure it out. I'm not about to watch I'm not about to let this little. Let's keep it a bug. This man Gohan had the roughest childhood out of almost any anime character you can think of as a child. Getting like beat up and tortured and like
Kidnapped.
and kidnapped
multiple times.
from the
Was-
age
Didn't
of
he
like,
die?
like
Didn't he die? No, I don't think he died. He never died.
I mean, I think he died
he died in
to
the
boot. To
Boo
boot.
saga.
Yeah.
When they blew up the planet. So like, bro, at that point, bro, if you don't get an education to go raise your family, and which he did at one point, so she actually successfully
For a
accomplished
while,
the
yeah,
job.
for several years. He
Yeah,
retired.
but he had a good family, whatever else. Then she had a second son. If you go off the Dragon Ball Bridge, you know how she got that son.
she basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah,
to say the word.
she holding it down, and she still supports this crazy ass nigga Goku. Like he literally actively, like,
Supports.
yes, this man just like disappears for years, and like he
Yeah.
dies, pops back up, and she's like, you know what? You can go train, but baby, I'm gonna cook you and give you all the food and energy you
Man,
need.
this man
to
out
go
in the
train.
fields working. What you mean?
If you, I'll
He's
let
still-
Otis. I'll let Otis say all his. I'll let Otis make his piece. But real quick, I'm gonna say, I see where Dev is coming from. I do see it because if you actually translate this to reality, this nigga is always running off, being an absentee father as hell, dumb as hell. He literally says to Vegeta in Dragon Ball Super, "I have no idea what a kiss is." If it wasn't for Chi-Chi, they wouldn't get shit done. She's the one that actually takes
Mandatory.
care of the home and makes sure there's actual food on the table. Goku's lazy ass. All he does want to do is fight and
Abusive, bro.
train. So it's like I see where Dev is coming from. Also, if in reality, if you had a small son, you do everything you could to keep him alive. And this is a horrible world that's trying to kill him. So I get it. But this ain't the reality. This is a different world, and her son is powerful enough to do these things. So on some you had to be able to like say, okay, I have to let him grow up.
This-
I have to let him do
What was
something.
This is
we
the
just talking
protector of the planet, bruh. Like, please be able to do that at a high level and save us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fuck that. Fuck that. I don't care about that.
But the thing is,
Your
Sam, in
dad-
reality, there are
I
parents who
watched-
let their kids play football, learn karate, that kind of stuff too. Happens.
Yeah, in sports where they don't potentially die or get a hole blown through their chest or literally drank by a fucking bug man.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, or absorbed. I'm like, bro, your dad can handle it. Your dad's friend can handle
But
it.
he
Your
dies
dad's
every
other friends
time
can handle it. Yeah, but they end up beating him, right? They beat him at some point.
because Gohan step in and help.
The one time,
the
he
OG.
stepped in for Cell. Every other time, Goku got that. He got this shit. Like Goku,
Nah,
handled
he
it.
stepped in for
Or Goku and Vegeta. got that
Namex,
shit.
like Saiyan Saga. He helped take down Raditz.
Bojack,
Cells-
he beat
yeah,
Bojack by himself.
He beat Bojack by himself. Namek Saga. He helped
If
build
that's
the
canon, I
Ginyu
guess.
Force.
Yeah, if it wasn't for him,
Um,
Namek, would have.
Did he really help beat the Ginyu Force? Let's keep it a buck.
He
Yeah,
did help. We're saying help. Yeah, he did help. We're saying help.
Hmm.
Look,
Garlic
Hey.
Jr. Saga, he helped too.
Hmm.
put it
I
like
mean,
this:
like,
even without
Gohan
him
is-
there, did y'all not have supreme confidence that Goku's still gonna beat them niggas without Gohan being there involved at all? Outside of Raditz, I'll give you Raditz because he wasn't like that at that point.
Hmm.
Besides Raditz, Goku can probably beat all those villains without Gohan there.
Probably
He didn't have to be there.
He does, but still, I mean, Gohan.
Not Cell. Shit,
Cell.
if
They
Gohan
could've
wasn't there
been
for
Cell.
Boo,
Boo?
like when he had to unlock potential, like he gave them enough time to actually put together a plan to actually fight Boo in the end.
Yeah, he
Man,
did.
that was some bullshit. They were like, "Oh, these earrings. Oh, I forgot we could do this shit." That,
At
the end of the
we all know
day,
the writing and the
Chi-Chi
pacing
is the most
Boo Saga.
abused character, abused mom ever when it comes to the emotional abuse of your husband leaving you on and off years at a time.
Yeah.
Your child
This
being
stuff
whisked
that
off
you gotta
of the
die
planet.
to protecting the planet.
9 times out of 10, the reason the planet needs to be protected is because he's even there doing shit. And even when they're in peaceful, so was she the one that started? How was she making money? Because they like I said,
Because
that,
Her
She's
best friend is the
daughter.
richest person on the planet.
But also, she's a.
so
she's
is it canon that
she's a
Bulma was like
princess.
paying for them to live?
She's a princess of the Ox King as well.
Oh,
so
yeah, I
she's
forgot
man,
about that.
yeah. So her
She
her
lived a
family and
leisurely life.
Where's that castle at? Because I don't even be like he be
Yeah,
dressed
they
like
don't-
he a regular dude not wearing a button up too.
yeah, he's supposed to be a farmer, but doesn't do any of that until the beginning of Super. He's supposed
Yeah,
to be a
I'm
farmer.
like-
He never farms
Hey,
ever.
bro, I'm
So
not,
it's
I'm not
her-
mad at your
it's
mom
her-
not wanting her children to get like murdered by monsters.
I
Like, other
I
people capable
get
of doing
that, but I think at
themselves.
some point you have to realize, okay, the world does need my son to help.
They don't need them.
So.
They don't need them.
So I'm not. I mean, she is the poster child for Tiger Mama. She really is. But I get where she's coming from.
She has the
She
biggest,
forced her
most
son to
reason.
have to protect the world of Bandana because he didn't want her to see his face. Not he wasn't protecting his identity from everybody else. It was so his mom wouldn't see.
from his. It's
Yes.
great saying, man.
Look, when I've seen people get drank and murdered and holes blown through them or whatever else, I'm like, look, can my son live? can he not get murdered and brought back to life like every 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it.
Like,
Yeah.
I see what you mean. But if anybody has a reason for that, it's her, because you're literally watching people explode and get drank alive all the time.
But think of it this:
your entire life.
Think of it this way. I know you're not a fan of this character, but Martha Kent and Superman, they know their son is something special, and they have to respect that. So they let him do his thing from a young age. Let him go out and start doing his thing. So it's the same thing as far as like it comes to a point where you gotta be like, yo, this kid is special. We have to allow him to be. Otherwise, the world will suffer if we don't let him.
Like she might as well be one of the parents in Footloose saying you can't dance, bro.
She's very that's a very pretty good analogy.
No, it's a horrible analogy. It's a horrible analogy. If dancing doesn't get you blown the fuck up. Stop that. Let's stop the cap. Let's stop the cap.
Stop the cap.
Stop the cap. Dancing does not get you drank. Cell was drinking people.
But he was gonna drink them regardless when that Gohan was there. If Gohan wasn't there,
exactly, so he didn't need to be there. That's the
like
whole
if
point.
Gohan wasn't there, he would have taken over the world.
Yeah, he literally would take over the world.
I'm fully convinced Goku could have beat Cell.
No,
literally, he was like, you know what? I'm gonna just let Gohan take a stab at it. I'm good.
Because he saw he was losing.
He admits, he's like, no, I have gone to my limit. I cannot beat him. I can hang with him. I can't beat him. I can't beat him. He said it. He said, I can't beat him.
And first off, why are they running one-on-ones in Dragon Ball? If y'all don't start jumping people, all 7 of y'all Z fighters, y'all don't start just jumping.
Yeah, they don't do a.
Yeah, fuck fusing. Like they did with Broly. They want to do it with another.
The one time they tried was Jiren, and that didn't go well for a lot of them.
Yeah, you wait to that point
Jiren.
though. They would have jumped Cell. They could have beat Cell. They would have like if Vegeta and Trunks jumped Cell out of the time chamber. That would have been over.
I don't think that would have worked either. I'm pretty sure he was still handled. Well, you're talking about before he absorbed.
Yes, before that.
Yeah, we know Vegeta could have beaten Cell early on. He just chose not to.
He's hubris. That's one thing. I think
that's why, like, you see shit like that happen. I'm like, I do not want my son there to clean up your shit. Handle your shit.
Yeah.
But if he was just there to handle that from the get-go, then he would have just ended it.
Because that's one thing
like,
too. Yeah, Gohan is the smartest
He's
one.
11, 12. If you don't go play with a Power Ranger or watch cartoons or some shit at 11 or 12.
But she doesn't let him do that. All she lets him do is work. All he does with her when he's around her is schoolwork. All he does. Period.
So how did he learn about superheroes and dancing and shit like that? Like he didn't just make that up out of his head.
He snuck out away from all them. Also, when he was doing his travels with the Z fighters, he learned that kind of stuff. Not from being around Chi-Chi.
Momo let like he was still at dinners and like going to the lab. Like Chi-Chi let him go explore the world. He didn't just only stay on the farm.
That was much. I mean,
he was like adulthood, basically.
Yeah, she had her
No, at like 15, just the BoJack movie you were talking about. He's entering a fighting tournament in the Android 13 movie. Like he was literally at dinner in the city shopping and shit around.
Did you see Chi-Chi in movie number 9, BoJack?
Yeah, not BoJack. No, I'm talking in the 13 movie.
As far as we know, he snuck out. As far as we know,
the Android 13 movie, she's literally with him in the mall at a dinner after they were out shopping all day for.
But the reason they're doing this is because Goku and her are going to a school for like whether it was like interviews as far as trying to get your kid into it. Like they have no choice. That has to happen. So that's why they're doing it. It is
dinner and shopping.
Yeah, they were getting materials to go to the. They were going to an interview for a school to get Gohan.
They went to do that, but Gohan was with Roshi and them chilling, like hanging out.
Because he wasn't going to go with them to the interview. The kid can't go to the.
Yeah, you could have left him the fuck at home, but they let him go with his degenerate ass friends.
You think they let him go, or he just went? I mean, they were there to police him.
She let him go. We just talked about him putting on a bandana when he was 17. He was not trying to get. Come on now. You just thought you gave me all that stuff about him having to hide his identity in the same city, and now all of a sudden she doesn't know that he's eating dinner with his nigga's pervert mentor.
Why would he have to hide his identity if she knew where he was?
She didn't know. That's what I'm saying. Like she knew where he was. She allowed him to go.
No. That's what I'm saying to you though. Like, why would he?
Because you're saying he snuck out, right? You're saying he snuck out, or like he wasn't able to go, right?
Yeah.
So he'd have to hide his identity because if he's seen, she's gonna fuck him up.
Well, not. I mean, in general, because this happens later on, right? In Buu Saga, when he's like 18 in high school, whatever it is, whatever age he is, he's Great Saiyan Man. He's like still 15. Hiding his identity. He's still hiding himself. So if he still has to hide himself that much later on, clearly he's been sneaking out for a while. He has to always do this. This is nothing new. He's always has still.
Yeah,
that
to go out and be a fighter, yes, but for him to go eat dinner and just like be a regular child, no, he didn't have to hide his identity for that.
He might have to, man.
I have to go eat dinner. No, bro.
She want him in the house doing homework all the time. Get those grades up. That's what
Those
she
grades
wants.
up.
So he
That's
never
what
went to
it is.
Kame house. He never went to see Bulma or whatever else.
When Goku broke him out,
Yeah, literally. Yeah, it was like
Him
very.
and Krillin were hanging out all the time when Goku was dead.
We talk all the time he was dead. We didn't see him. So when Goku was dead, there was that 7 years. We don't see what happens in that 7 years. When
They
he's
talk
dead.
about their relationship and like the bond they have though at that point. Like after that situation goes on, like all this that they were
Man.
doing previous to that.
When they
Man.
talk
We're
about.
gonna go find it. We're gonna get the receipts. I'm gonna go get the receipts.
We gotta move on.
I gotta go to episode like 2000 to find this shit, but we gonna
This
find
episode's
it.
going on. Another DBZ, pretty much loose cannon.
Put some respect on Chi-Chi, bro.
No,
I'm not
I'm
about to
not-
gaslight this woman like that. We're not doing that.
because she's a terrible mother.
She's a terrible mother for not wanting her son to get murdered.
Man,
When you have the
she's
child that is supposed to protect the planet and you say, no, don't train, do this homework.
Yeah, go live
That's-
a regular life like everybody else gets to.
That's not regular life, man. You only do schoolwork. Again, it's the same thing as what if Martha Kenneth said
He's
no.
11. All he has to do is go to school.
That 11-year-old is one of the only people that can stop this whole alien race from taking over the planet, right?
One
Yeah.
of them. He either has a father like one.
The father that lost.
What's the point of the Z fighters if the 12-year-old has the only one that can
He's
stop
the
this shit?
strongest one. That's not his fault. He didn't
Oh
make
my
the decision
God.
to be the strongest.
Fam, we gotta move on. We gotta move on. It is we're pushing like 2 hours.
We gonna have a
We gotta
poll.
move on.
We're
We gotta
gonna-
move on.
we're gonna make a poll. That's gonna be some funny shit.
We'll come back to this in a loose cannons. We'll come back to loose cannons. All right. So my number one fam, obviously, is Miss Marge Bouvier, aka Simpson.
Never watched any
I
from her.
know the last 20 plus years of the show have been rough, really rough, but she is the archetype. She is the OG. She's the loving mom. She's the mama that puts up with Homer as a husband and Bart as a son, and is always there to support them and love them. She raised a super mega, literally Mensa leading genius in Lisa. She's fantastic. She is the rock of rocks. And so many other shows that follow afterwards have used Marge as a kind of a template.
She's the chain smoker and chain smokers.
Bruh.
she's the chain and the chain smoker.
Fuck my kids' health. I'm smoking these cigarettes. God damn it. They gonna get this secondhand smoke.
Yeah,
So,
but
yeah, I
no,
love
Marge's a great mom. To deal with even a portion of what Homer brings on a daily basis, or Bart
Right.
Simpson, like Bart as a child, that's a kid that you say, yeah, go do your homework. Only that.
Yeah.
Don't do nothing else. Sit in that room.
You gotta choke buddy out. Just get him. Yeah, bro.
Homer does it all the time.
Literally,
Literally.
Homer and Bart are like the main two reasons. Like any problem that happens in that show is usually because they're fucking some shit up.
Yeah, 100%. That's what has to be a balance of Marge and Lisa have to be the opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah, but yeah, this the OG. I love it. I love Marge. I haven't watched the show in like 20 years, but the old schools were fantastic.
Watch the
So,
movie.
I did. I watched the movie with Spider Pig. Of course, I watched the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So moving on to Otis's number one.
Yeah, mine. My number one is a little bit more obscure. Her name is Ryuko Tamiya. She's from Parasite the Maxim, and no, it's not the main character's mom. It's the parasite that has.
Oh, you're saying I see
the series.
Yeah.
And she goes from being a completely outsider from the planet as a whole to like why do people want to have children? What is the purpose of this? And to know that she essentially ended her life protecting that kid and giving that information over to Shinichi. That was pretty great moment within the series. Seeing someone literally develop an emotional connection to a human being for the first time. That's not something you get to actually see in mediums often. And I think that they handle it pretty well in that show.
Parasite's a fantastic series. I forgot that moment too in that episode. It's not even the end of the series when it happens, but it's a fantastic arc for that character that she goes from being a full blown unrepentant murdering kind of
Like,
alien.
Sociopath, like I'll kill people for the fun of it. So it's like, this is why humans have connections. Like that's a nice art.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And like I said, when she passes it off to Shinichi, the whole idea of like, I get it, here it is. This is valuable. I will die for this. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, good pick. Good pull. We have to do. We also be. I'm sorry. Do you have anything to say about this, Dev?
No,
I'm shaking your
y'all are
head.
something else. Y'all are something else.
What?
This dude here. Look at this dude. Look at his
Propping old girl
face.
up for not eating her child. And it's
No.
wants her
It's
to
not
do
just
some math homework, and y'all are like, oh no.
It's not just
Fuck
that. it's
calculus. Don't get a job. Don't raise a family.
Let me take it.
Don't get a mortgage.
Turn off his mic. But no. Also, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention, like, obviously Aunt May. I know some other people wanted us to mention Aunt May, any version of her. She's cool and all, but just not one of my favorites.
Because she's trying to make sure Peter lives a regular life too.
Well, she doesn't know what. I mean, most iterations until later on, at least, she doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, all she's doing is like, "Hey, Peter, are you going to school? Do you have a job? You have your own place to live?"
Yeah,
like,
I mean, she was a good mom before he became a superhero. She raised him, from when he was like 2 or 3 years old, what have you. But
Bet you she was a murderer. If she was a murderer that ate people, you fuck with her. Okay, I see what you mean. See what you want.
I mean, to have that duality, like to be a murderer and then also nurture a child to being a great person like Peter Parker. If that was the case with Aunt May, that'd be pretty fire, actually.
Or
it would be pretty fire.
Or you just raise your child like a regular fucking parent.
But yeah, if your child isn't a regular human being that like can protect the planet, you should probably like make sure they can do that at a high level because it's the planet on the line, like the literal planet.
You can't.
One,
right? You'd be turning them into hypocrites, Dev. Because remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Came from that family, so
yeah, I don't think he to probably have like the responsibility of being a father or like paying your rent. Not for you to go fight evil gigantic kaiju.
Hey,
no,
he didn't. You trying to be? All he said was he just said with great power comes great responsibility, whatever that power might be. He didn't try to have some kind of clauses in there.
Yes, to not be a dictator, to not abuse your power as a boss. No, not to go fight giant vulture people or lizards.
So if your power is strong enough to protect other people, then you have a responsibility to protect other people.
100%. That's as simple as that.
But when you have alternatives, no, fuck that shit.
100%. I mean, where there be
Avengers, there's all kinds of people in that's another thing. Why the fuck why does he have to protect New York when the Avengers Tower is in the middle of New York?
Because Tony Stark is chilling, sipping mimosas until galactic level events happen.
He's there. You got Luke Cage and Danny Rand are in New York working for hire. There's
like a million work in Harlem.
There's like so many fucking New York-based heroes that can fight crime, and they're just like, nah, Spider-Man got it. You Madden? That's all you, G. All you, Madden.
he's all.
You know what Miles like Miles? Hey, Brooklyn, that's all you, G. We gonna be over here chilling.
In the comics, y'all knew for a decade Tony was an alcoholic, so it didn't matter. He wasn't doing shit anyways. So.
And
then probably making the city worse, honestly.
He actually was. He was, and in Secret Wars, he's always. Spider-Man's always a linchpin in all these big events that happen. I guess Secret Wars and whatnot. Even in Civil War, the first one, he's the one that kind of causes things because he comes out of the closet.
I'm just like, why are we depending on a 15-year-old? He's like 15 for the. Like, can these grown-ass men take care of shit? Why are you begging these children to fight your fights?
It is what it is. One other one, too, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Beatrice Kiddo from Kill Bill. She's great. She's awesome and everything, but, just have a bigger spot.
Yeah, I'll give her more props because she just wanted to raise her child. She wanted to be regular.
Well, the thing about it is that we don't see her actually as a mom for a overwhelming majority of, it's not for the last 2 minutes we see her as a mom. That's why I didn't pick her.
She just wanted to watch cartoons and eat cereal with her daughter, and it was like, all right, I have to murder people to get my daughter back. Cool.
Yeah, and she does that for literally a hot second at the very, 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 very end. Before that, we just seen as a killer. So she wanted to have that, but she didn't get to have that in this movie.
Be a child and not have trauma. That's all I ask, man.
Yeah,
let this child be a child.
Yeah. But,
unless you have to protect the planet.
Fuck the planet. Fuck the planet.
This dude here, man. If the world's ever, Charlie, please do me a favor.
Don't give me the gun.
But don't have a kid that's important because I'm sure all you do is nothing with you. You're making
all y'all niggas are done for. All y'all are done for. Me and him on a different planet chilling. No.
Damn. Wow. You're gonna abandon us. Horrible.
You're all done. All of you done. Over with. Finito.
You have a pet now. You have an awesome dog. If that dog, let's say that someone's life is in the lines, and that dog's like, oh my gosh, master, over here, there's danger. You're like, nah, you're gonna grab your dog and say, nah, let them.
Yeah, me and him gonna be on the porch chilling.
Wow.
Listen to cicadas and shit. Yeah.
That's your friend Otis. That's your boy Otis East. Your boy.
Wow.
And on that note,
yeah, let's get about it.
Before we partake any more nonsense.
The nigga over here wanted to gonna world dominate the. What was that conversation we had about Otis getting the kiosk and like taking over the world or some shit?
I think he was trying to rule, not say. I think what it was the same as Brain in Opinion of Brain, where it's like he's going to rule it as far as obliterate it. He wants to kind of make it better. If you're the ruler of it, leader of it.
Yeah, but me just want to show up to my son's basketball games, man. That's crazy. Anyway, let's get up out of here, y'all.
What sport did you put him in? He said
All she
schoolwork.
did was
He literally was on a base. Then he was playing baseball in high school.
that wasn't no. What?
He's not on a baseball team, but he's playing baseball in high
What are
school.
you talking about?
Wasn't there a whole scene of like
He goes
Gohan
to
throwing
a
the
gym
baseball bat?
class. He goes to a gym class.
Yeah, he goes to a public high school.
He's in school and there's gym class. It's not
but
a
he was
baseball
able to.
team
But he was able to go to public school, have a girlfriend, go to class, like do regular people shit.
because he's in school. It has nothing to do with whatever. We had this. It's
Nigga,
2
we're on
hours.
bike
We have
school.
to.
Come on, man.
We have to. The
All right,
Chi-Chi
man,
debate will
y'all.
continue.
Let us know what you think. If you think Chi-Chi's the go or again, whatever, y'all know. what
The
to do.
goat.
Comment
If that was
section below.
oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. She the
Goodbye,
goat. I'm
goodbye,
saying
all
it. She the
viewers. We'll
goat.
never see you again.
She the go.
The
Anyway, we'll see
goat.
y'all later. Thank y'all for tuning in for another episode of the In and Out Podcast. We'll see you guys next week. We thank you for your support. We hope you continue to support it, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace. Goddamn haters, nigga.
The goat?
The goat.
Oh, wait.